Hello and welcome to the Addicts Anonymous podcast. I'm your host, Jim R. Today's episode 139, and we're interviewing Chris C. How you doing today, Chris?
Hi, I'm great, Jim. Thanks for having me. I'm Chris, and I'm an alcoholic.
Okay, nice to meet you, Chris. It's a pleasure. So let's get the party started here and dive in. Tell me about your childhood and growing up.
I wish I had some awful backstory that I could pin my alcoholism on, but I really don't. I grew up in a upper middle class family in central Saskatchewan, up in Canada, and my parents, they were awesome. I don't think I can ever recall a time seeing them drunk. We used to do kind of yearly trips for the beginning of the school year out to Minot, North Dakota, because mom and dad could get good deals on our clothes out there. And dad would get a bottle of rum and mom would get a bottle of vodka. And those bottles wouldn't be finished by the time we went down the following year. So I really can't blame it on that. I grew up, I went to a French immersion Catholic school for the first 5 years. And then
What kind of school? What's different about that type of schooling?
French immersion, like Canada is a bilingual country. That's a legislated law that it's bilingual. Now, not all students have to go to bilingual schools, but my parents chose for me to go to a French and English school. So I had most of my education, K through 12, was fully in French with just English class on the side, right? So we were fully English at home. My parents didn't speak French, but they thought it would be beneficial for me to have a second language. So I did all of my mathematics, science, social studies, humanities, all of that was in French. We just had an English class.
Oh, that's great. I always impressed by people that are bilingual, or even the people that are like trilingual and they speak a bunch of languages.
Yeah.
Have you found that beneficial in your life?
I wouldn't. I want to say yes, because obviously having a second language it should be of some benefit. Now, it's never really translated into career opportunities or anything like that. But I mean, being able to communicate with other people that, may speak a bit of French, I think it's kind of helped me to, just be more open to, like people that are just monolinguistic, especially in North America. They have it like, this is what we speak here and everybody else is different than us. And, for me, maybe I don't see it as much as other people are different than us. It's because of their language. It makes me more accepting and open to people, especially like maybe not even just people that speak French, but other people from other countries who speak other languages and have a tough time maybe communicating in our society. So maybe I can, it allows me to see things from a different point of view, for people that have language barriers.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you had a good childhood. Yeah, keep going. Keep telling me.
Yeah, it was great, man. It was great. Like we would go on road trips to Ontario. So think of like North Dakota to Michigan, kind of road trip every summer to go visit our family. And yeah, we were all really close. I had an older brother who I really looked up to, and I have a younger sister who, we got along really good as kids. And into adolescence, we drifted apart, had different things. She stayed on the straight and narrow, and I went down my path. And elementary school, a lot of people that I've met through the AA and through meetings and programs, they have these backstories where they started into their decline at a really early age. That didn't happen to me. I didn't really start drinking until, maybe grade 10 or 11 in high school. And I found out right away that I wasn't very good at it. I would, I'd see the older kids and the guys that had been drinking for years. They could, it was almost like a competition, right? Who could drink the most? Hey, this guy, he drank a whole 2 sticks at that party. And, in my misguided youth, I strived for that. I thought that's what I thought that was going to make me, cool, right? So it took a hell of a lot of work, Jim, to actually become the caliber of alcoholic that I became. Like for the first couple of years, I was, what they would call a lightweight, right? I couldn't even drink a 6-pack, and I'd be throwing up and rolling around in the grass in my own vomit. And so it took a lot of training and practice to become as well versed in my drinking as I became. So
did that happen fairly quickly, or did it take time to build up to your, as you put it, the caliber of alcoholic that you were?
Yeah, no, I think, after a few years of really working on binge drinking, I did become quite good at it. And then as the years went on, like, it used to just be like drinking for parties, or drinking before you go out for the evening, or pre-drinking, or I don't know what the slang is down there.
Pre-gaming. We call it pre-gaming.
Pre-gaming, yeah. Do that before you go out to the rave or whatever, or the punk rock show, whatever fad I was into at the time. And but then as I kind of moved away from like the drinking for social situations kind of thing, like party drinking, and moved into just the heavy straight up alcoholism, where it was like, I was drinking every night, and not even to go out, like drinking alone by myself in my apartment or my trailer, wherever I was staying at the time. I'll go back a step. I work on the road. I work out of town a lot of times. So 14-7 rotation, 14 days on, 7 days at home. So that's 14 days sitting by myself in my trailer, drinking a bottle of whiskey every night to myself. And, the next day swearing off alcohol. Something magic happened right at 5 o'clock though, because, my will to drink came back with a vengeance every day at 5 o'clock. So, it really.
How did you get into that type of work? How did you get into that type of work? How old were you when you first started?
How old was I when I started work or drinking?
Well, drinking, you said grade 10.
Yeah, around grade 10, yeah.
Did that progress quickly? Like your level of drinking?
Yeah, because so I drinking and drugs too. Like I had I had a problem with like hard drugs for a long time, and like the party drugs, the MDMA and whatever the kids call Molly these days, and other stuff, all the party stuff, right? Never really dabbled in the intravenous kind of world, but basically anything else that was good for parties, and that kind of went hand in hand with drinking, right? So that
what
all
kind of other drugs? You said
what
MDMA.
kind of other drugs?
Yeah, was it anything like crack or heroin or anything like that?
No, that wasn't my thing. Just like the party drugs, cocaine, ecstasy, LSD, mushrooms, ketamine.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, right? And some of those, some really fancy designer drugs that hit the streets back in the early 2000s.
I've done pretty much all that, but tell me, because the one thing I haven't done, tell me what ketamine is like. I'm just curious.
Well, I mean, without trying to glorify it, it's so I mean, basically it falls into the category of a dissociative, right? So it's commonly referred to as a horse tranquilizer. Veterinarian clinics use it to knock out animals for surgery. So it has a euphoric feeling in small doses. It's like it's similar to alcohol, right? But in larger doses, you can be fully, I want to say unconscious, but yet still there, right? So the way I describe it, and I'm sure a doctor is going to correct me on this, but it kind of suppresses your consciousness, and it lets that subconscious that's always running in the background come more to the forefront. And so you have, when you're really deep into, like they call it a K-hole, it's almost pseudo spiritual. yeah, it causes a whole host of problems, from everything from schizophrenia, paranoid delusions, and then into like the actual inside your body. It causes ulcers, and you know, it's bad. It's got really bad long-term effects. But in smaller doses, it was fun at parties, right? It was, you know, like one tiny little key bump, and it felt like you just shotgunned a Mickey of vodka. So, but yeah, my drug use kind of took hold when I got into certain music scenes, right? So we were, you know, back when we were just punk rock kids skateboarding around town, it was more of smoking weed and drinking beer. And then when we started getting more into like the electronic music scene, now this is like, let's go back maybe 1997, very early in the, for me anyways, what I consider early in the electronic music scene, where, you know, LSD and ecstasy were the big hits, right? And so then I moved into that kind of side of things. And but alcohol was always there. Alcohol was always the precursor to the party, right? You want to get nice and lubricated before you go in, and then whatever pills that were put in front of you basically got gobbled up, or whatever powder was in front of you got done as well. So and then I didn't really have that hard of a time moving past the drugs. It got to a point, you know, I got married, started having children, and the drugs just didn't fit in, right?
What age did you get married?
What age was I? 32. I was 32 when I got married.
Okay, just skipping ahead a little bit,
Yeah. So I know I skipped a big chunk of time, but that was essentially that whole patch from, let's say, early 2000s until 2012. It was all just Groundhog Day. Wake up, drink, do drugs, go to party, try and hold on to whatever menial little job I could find, you know. And I'm not putting down you know, service industry workers, but, you know, working in restaurants for next to minimum wage, just basically to support my drug and drinking habit, and, you know, pay for rent and tickets into the next party. So that was just on repeat for a lot of years. And then I was fortunate enough to get introduced into the trades. I immediately clicked with the trade that I'm in now. I'm a pipe fitter, steam fitter, basically industrial plumbing, let's say. So once I got into a trade, I really, you know, it was around that same time that I got married and started having kids, and the drugs just were not, it couldn't exist at the same time as a career. I found that out. I lost jobs over it, and I was able to give up the drugs, but the booze stuck. And, you know, to me at that time, it was like, well, it was the lesser of two evils, the better alternative, right? Like, you know, you can go to the store and buy your liquor, but, you know, the cocaine, you know, it's illegal, it's more dangerous, it's more frowned upon. So I was able to move away from that kind of stuff, but I just used liquor as a crutch, right? And yeah, the liquor, it absolutely took a hold of me. It man, by the time I retired my liquor career, it was really bad. It was really bad. I was losing relationships. I was losing sleep, losing jobs, losing money, almost lost my wife. And I mean, obviously the last one was the problems with my marriage was when I decided that, you know, I had a choice to make at that point, right? And thank God I chose the right direction. I chose my wife over the booze, and here I am today, close to 2 years sober, and life's never been better. Things I would have never even imagined that would come out of being sober, like massive promotions, quality of life, the people I've gained in my life, the respect I've gained in my life from from other people, from talking about this kind of stuff. Yes, it's crazy. I would never have imagined how much better things got from quitting drinking, like, yeah, no, I don't wake up with hangovers anymore. That's the smallest, that's a tiny little benefit compared to the other things that, the relationships in my life with people that are just so much better now.
So going back, what was your darkest time, would you say, when you were younger? What was it? What was the progression of, I know you said the addiction took quickly, but what was the progression of like your life starting to change and spiral out? How quick did that happen? Going back to like your early 20s,
Yeah, okay. So yeah, okay, I can relate that. I moved from Regina, Saskatchewan. I moved west to British Columbia, to a beautiful city called Kelowna. We're right on a giant lake. It's almost like a resort town. It's beautiful. And when we moved there, I moved to go to school. They had a college there I wanted to attend. I did all the right stuff. I did some upgrading, spent months preparing to get into this college, and I get there, and now I'm in the middle of a drug and alcohol addiction. I managed to just limp through 3 years of school, and but I was not able to work because of my course load, and so I turned to selling drugs at that point, right, to kind of subsidize my education and my addictions and all of that. And so at that point, it got really bad, because it was just there. I had it all the time. I was buying in large quantities and selling in small quantities, so it's dabbling into my own supply was not really cutting into my profits that bad. And I think that's where things actually really got really bad, is when I had like essentially unlimited supply of whatever I wanted, right? And then I don't feel like I was terribly addicted to drugs before then, but I think that's when things really started to get bad, and I started to have health issues and near overdoses and stuff like that.
What kind of health issues?
Well, aside from the normal stuff, like I mentioned before, I was getting like ulcers, digestive problems, gastrointestinal problems, and then the things that come with, like, let's say, lack of sleep when you're on a 2-3 day bender and still trying to do high level university education. That was terrible. And then just the stuff that goes along with not taking care of yourself, right? Like even things down to like skin problems, the way I looked, the way my energy that I had throughout the day, right? Like, when you're up till 3 a.m. and then try to get up for a 7 a.m. class, and you just don't have it in you, right? But those were the main ones. Infections happen more often. I was sick more often. So yeah, that put an end to my university career. I wish it had put an end to my selling drugs career, but no, I took the wrong choice on that front. So I carried on with the selling drugs for a few more years, until basically it was, well, my wife now, she was my girlfriend at the time, and she had kind of decided that she wanted out of that lifestyle. And so it was basically I wouldn't say an ultimatum at that point, but it was like, I really wish you wouldn't do this anymore. And so basically it was again, it was a choice at that point. So we just stopped. I got a real job. I got lucky. I came into some money from my aunt and uncle. I was able to pay off all my student loans. I never got my degree, but at least I got out of it with no debt. I don't have that hanging over my head. I got into the career I'm in, and it's the drugs haven't really been a problem since. I found, I had to change my habits a little bit. I couldn't go to these late night rave parties or the clubs or the after hours parties anymore. I found out that I didn't really kind of like that stuff to begin with. I liked the substances that came along with it. When I tried doing this stuff without drugs, I was like, yeah, this is not as cool as it seemed. So that was, one of the things I had to give up or change my habits. I like to put it that way. I had to change that habit. And, I found changing certain things like that made me not want to do the drugs anymore. And then it kind of, the same way that things spiral out of control downhill, they can also spiral in a positive direction, right? Positive changes give you kind of, better outcomes. Better outcomes make you pursue positive changes, better outcomes. So you can also spiral uphill. So that's kind of where I've been heading. But like I said, the liquor always stayed. The liquor was, that wasn't going anywhere. So through the grace of God, I was able to, stop doing drugs, and now, God willing, I'll stay sober off alcohol.
So let's talk about your recovery. Did you use any programs?
Yeah. Instantly, day one, I went right to AA. It was good. I was working out of town up in northern British Columbia. We were doing a natural gas pipeline facility. I was in the depths of my drinking. Like I said, I was at the point where we call them a 2.6 up here, 26 ounce bottle. What do you like? 1.14 liters. I think, do you guys have 2.6s in the States?
I don't know what they would call that here.
It's like there's like the, anyways, it's the middle size bottle. But it was like one of those bottles wasn't even cutting it in a night. So I'd need to have two. It was horrible drinking whiskey straight. And then something came up in my life. I had made a pretty bad mistake. My wife felt pretty betrayed by my actions, and justly so. And so it was at that point that I had to choose between her and the booze.
What had happened? What was the incident that happened?
So it's kind of complicated. Essentially, the quick and dirty version is I had reached out to another woman online, and we had actually met through, I was looking for a place to rent, and then she said she had a place to rent, and I didn't end up taking that place. And later on in my while I was drinking and just heavily intoxicated throughout, I ended up messaging this woman and asking her to go out for a drink, go on a date, essentially, while I was working out of town. And I guess it shows my technological literacy here. I engaged with her over Facebook Messenger, and she saw my profile picture of me and my wife. And so immediately she reached out to my wife and sent her a copy of all the exchange that happened there. And that was it. That was the moment that I just about lost everything. So.
Yeah. Sounds like we do dumb things,
Yeah. And I mean, I wish I could blame it all on the liquor and drugs, but obviously there's, I've learned through going through AA that, I have a whole host of character defects that need work. So I've been putting in work on that kind of stuff. And So yeah, that's where it started. It was that incident that kicked off my sobriety, and I immediately the next day started going to AA meetings. Now this is late August 2020 is when this all went down. Did I say August? I mean October. It was late October of 2020. And yeah, I started going to meetings. I kind of found a home group that I liked there, a good group of people in this smaller community of Quesnel, British Columbia. And yeah, then I mean, COVID hit, right? And I mean, COVID had already started, but it got really serious at that point. So they shut down all the in-person meetings. Now, I believe it was a voluntary move by the groups. I think groups were still allowed to operate even during COVID. But I think most of the groups there shut down voluntarily and switched to like a Zoom format. And, you know, I went almost probably 9 months without really working any steps, without getting a sponsor, thinking I could do things on my own, without, you know, getting into the big book too much, just, you know, just going to meetings. I used it as an alternative to drinking. So what I found is I could come home from work, get changed real quick, go to the gym for an hour. The gym was a block away from, have another shower at the gym, and then I could go to my meeting. By the time all that was done, it was 9:30 at night. I still had to feed myself. By 10 o'clock, I figured, you know, if you can make it till 10 o'clock, you're not going to need a drink, right? You've already spent all your good drinking time doing healthy stuff. And then I realized that I was staying sober, but I wasn't really fixing any of the problems that, you know, that caused my drinking, right? It's, you know, staying sober is one thing, and, you know, it's commendable, but if you're not working on the character defects, the flaws within yourself, then, I mean, your chances are very slim of staying sober, right? So it was only once that I got a sponsor. I started doing more meetings. I started working steps, started reading the book. The things actually really started to turn around then, right? So I was still, I mean, there's all kinds of terms. I was a dry drunk until I got my sponsor. And now I can say I'm a sober man. I don't like to use it in a past tense, like a recovered alcoholic. I don't believe that I'm fully recovered. I'm on a process of recovery. So I'm a recovering alcoholic. Unashamed. You know, I'll talk with anybody about it. I make it pretty clear to everybody that that's where I am. And you know what? If someone's gonna judge me negatively on that, then you know, I don't need that person in my life. If it's an employer that's gonna take offense to that, then I don't need that job. But luckily, like we were talked about earlier, I've got an employer who's really supportive of it. They're giving me the time to talk to you right now, and yeah, AA, man, I can't say enough about it. I know a lot of people don't like they think it's a religious thing, right? They do talk about God. It's in a lot of the steps. But it's really not a religious program. It's a spiritual program, right? And I think that's the key to recovery is spirituality, finding a higher power. It doesn't have to be Jesus. It doesn't have to be God from the Bible. It's a God of your own choosing. So that is definitely key. I understand like people have other ways of getting sober, quitting drinking. This is the path I chose, and I know the program works for me. I know it's worked for countless other people. So, but at the end of the day, I'm not here to promote Alcoholics Anonymous, but I will say it works.
And give credit where credit is due. AA is a great program.
Yeah, Yeah, it is. It is for sure. But it might not be for everybody, you know?
No, I mean, that's why I have a program that we developed, or that I developed for the group, and it's just an alternative to AA, because a lot of people aren't going to like the AA book, just like a lot of people are going to love it, but there's going to also be a lot of people who don't love it. So it goes both ways. But I think it's good to have all types of alternatives. Like
Oh,
there's
yeah.
also smart recovery and celebrate recovery, because not everybody's the same. Like if you want to compare it to religion, the Dalai Lama once said, he goes, there should be different religions because there's so many different personalities on the planet. Not one religion won't fit all. So just same thing. I believe it's the same thing with recovery. Not all recovery will, be just one type of recovery that fits for everybody.
No, that's great. Yeah, no, I like that analogy. That's and I mean, what's the harm in having other means, right? Like if it's gonna work for somebody, that's great. Doesn't work, well, there's something else out there for them to try. So
Exactly. And they keep trying till they land on something that works for them.
God willing.
Yeah. So my last question that I ask everybody is, do you have any advice for people that are watching and listening?
Yeah. I think the number one thing, let me just give me a second to organize this thought in my head. A lot of people, there's the age old question, like, what is the meaning of life? And I don't think that question is worded or arranged properly, because the meaning of life is having meaning in your life. So from the way I like to describe it, or in my experience, is I didn't have meaning in my life. So I filled that void with partying, with drugs, with, all kinds of things that weren't good for me. And so what I found was, actually, when I started to actually find meaning in my life, I found meaning in my relationships. I found meaning in doing meaningful work, having a job that I enjoyed, that sustained me, developing or finding meaning in your life, having a family. I mean, that's the number one thing, right? So, I mean, what more meaning is there in life? Our whole physiology of the human being is designed for procreation. So, it's not what is the meaning of life, is what is the meaning in your life? And if you can't answer that question, then you're opening yourself up to a world of problems. So find some meaning in your life, take some responsibility, be the kind of person that in a crisis people would look to, right? Is that the kind of person, if there's a crisis going on, do you want to be the kind of person that people like, don't put him in charge? Or do you want to be the kind of person that everybody points to? And how do you get to that spot? Is by taking on responsibility that you don't necessarily have to take on. Find some meaning, take on responsibility, be better than you were yesterday. Don't worry about being better than the guy beside you.
I like that. I liked it. That's great advice. I really appreciate you doing the podcast today. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was nice. It was like an extended version of being asked to share at a meeting, which I always try to I try to stay really concise. And, whenever they pick a topic at a meeting, I try to just be super ultra focused, like a laser beam on that topic, and watching, okay, I got 5 minutes to get it all in. This was nice. I was able to go back and forth and, kind of jump around through my story a little bit. So yeah, that was excellent. Thank you so much.
No, it's great having you. So sit tight. And for everybody watching and listening, if you like what you heard and saw, go below and give us a like. Also subscribe to see when we upload new videos. Also, please check us out at Addicts, or www.addicts-anonymous.com. And you can also find us on Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So that's all we have for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time.